Dave Ramsey, options trader, financial independence fan, entrepreneur, ultra runner, high school physics teacher, and family man, all in one guest. Here we go. Welcome to the Forget About Money podcast, where we encourage you to take action today so that you can focus on what matters most to you. Today, we're joined by Brad Fenn, an entrepreneur, a YouTube creator, an options trader, and a high school physics teacher who started his financial journey with Dave Ramsey's teaching. Welcome, Brad.
David, thank you so much. It's been too long since I've seen you, and I got to say, I'm kind of impressed you nailed that intro first take. Very rarely do they nail it first take, and you smoked it.
Well, it's only going to be a matter of time before I screw something up here. Brad has built a successful career across multiple ventures, and he's here to discuss his entrepreneurial journey, his financial independence journey, and how he thinks about investing. Let's get right into it, Brad.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, no, those are the things I like talking about most.
Good. Dave Ramsey. You either love him or hate him, but that's how you got your foot in the door with getting your personal finance act together. What initially drew you to Dave Ramsey's teachings, and how did his principles shape your early financial journey?
So I think, like a lot of people that found out about Dave, and for the record, I don't even think he's love-hate. I think you can find a middle ground. I just think it takes many, many years before you find a middle ground, because that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of just like him. I don't love him or hate him. I kind of just like him. But I think what happened was I had those conversations about student loans with my father, and every once in a while, when you're into math and data like I am, over time, student loans, you're going to sit down and you're going to realize like how terrible it is and how detrimental it really is. And every once in a while, I'd have that conversation with my dad on the phone, like, how'd you let me do this? Like, why did you let me take these loans out? And, with that came, how do I get rid of them? How do I get rid of these loans? And unfortunately, you really can't unless you pay them off. Now, this was 2016 when I did it, before stimulus checks and before possible loan forgiveness and things like that. I think the only way to get your loans forgiven back then was to teach in a really high need area, and you teach there for a couple of years and they'd give you a little bit on your Fed loans. But fact of the matter was, you had to pay them off. You had to go through the grind. You had to pay them off. And as I'm looking like, all right, well, what's the fastest way? Because I'm a math guy. I want the math way. I want to make sure that I'm being efficient when I pay these things off if I'm going to do it. And the guy that just kept coming up over and over again was Dave Ramsey. And in the beginning, when I first started listening to him, I'm like, all right, this is a little bit ridiculous. I learned the baby steps, and I'm like, this is unrealistic. And I found out, the people that really dive into that unrealistic side of Dave Ramsey, they're just not willing to put in the work, because it is not easy. It does take a lot of sacrifice. And I had, luckily, a very supportive wife who is a lot better with money than me. And when I kind of brought this upon her and was like, hey, we're going to try this. We're going to go super frugal. And I started having her listen to all the podcasts, and we both kind of dove straight in. I tend to be a little bit more obsessive than her. So she was like, okay, can we drive somewhere without listening to a Dave Ramsey podcast? And yeah, that's really how I got on it. And once I started listening, I'm like, I'll hate on anything, but I want to try it first. So let me set up a debt snowball. Let me try baby step 1. Let me just try these things. And if in 6 months, my personal finance isn't better, then I'll go look somewhere else. And it turned out 6 months later, I was better than I was 6 months before. And a year later, I was even better than I was even then. So although I learned other ways or other teachings outside Dave Ramsey over that time, especially being a YouTuber during that time, for me, it was always like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like the early things of, when I was a Dave Ramsey debt snowball guy, and people were like, you should do the debt avalanche because interest and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, well, my debts are getting crushed. I do like to check boxes. I personally like the debt snowball. So like, why am I going to change? Why am I going to do all these things if everything's working? And yeah, I rode Dave Ramsey for, I think, 3 years. It took me to pay off $190,000 worth of debt. And I can't deny, even my opinions of him now in hindsight, I can't deny that he was a major, major driving factor. And he's still a guy that I, at least for certain things when it comes to personal finance, I still direct people to him. And you kind of got to say though, it's going to be work. Like those times, I am the cliche story of did not go out to eat, did not go on vacation, did not buy new clothes, drove a crappy car. Like I was one of those guys. But he says if you try that and you do that, you're probably going to come out successful on the other side. And I'm a true testament of that. And luckily, I have the whole journey documented on YouTube too, which kind of helps when people call BS on it. I'm like, go back and look at how crappy it once was,
So for context, when did this start? And you said it took you 3 years, but what year did you look at that balance and say, $190,000, I've got to do something now? And you said you were already married at that point. Like, how was that conversation with your, first off, were you married before or after you had $190,000 in debt?
I was, the student loan debt's kind of funny because my wife, most of it was mine. And my wife, she got a full ride to her undergrad. And she was in a 5-year program. So she was also going to get her master's paid for free. And she went to a local private school. Her ride was academic and athletics. She played lacrosse. But in her last year, the year that would have been for her master's, she's like, Brad, I always dreamed of going Ivy League. And I'm an academic All-American. I have a 4.0. I just want to try it out. And she applied to Columbia and she got in. And at the time, I'm the new husband that's like, I'm not going to keep you from your dreams. I'm going to make you happy, whatever you want to do. And she ended up taking out like $140,000 to get her master's at Columbia, where 2 years later, after she graduated, like, why didn't we just stay at Adelphi? That would have been, a bunch of that would have been off. But yeah, we brought that both in. We had that conversation, and I remember it like it was yesterday because I'm actually going through the same exact thing right now. Even years later, as a school teacher, we don't get paid over the summer. So usually when we finish our school year, the bank account's great, and then we have 10 weeks off to just spend money and go on vacation. And if you don't know how to budget and if you don't know how to manage your money, this could be very, very difficult for teachers. And there was this particular year where we budgeted, or we at least put money aside for July and August. That's our summer break, without realizing that we don't get paid. We start September 1st, but we don't get paid until almost the second week. So we owed September mortgage. We owed September bills right at that first of the month. And that's really what led me to believe, because we got married the November before and we got our wedding gifts and stuff. So the bank account was kind of good. And we never even thought about it because we had all this money. And then it was like July and we started getting like low balance on your bank account notifications and warnings. We're like, there's no way. At Christmas time, we had 25, 30 grand in the bank. And then we realized, holy cow, we went through 30 grand in 6 months. And it started off as like, how are we going to pay the mortgage? Because we weren't really big credit card people. We had credit cards for points and things like that, but it was pretty much, ours was mostly a truck payment and student loans, but how are we going to pay the mortgage? And then it was like, we need to budget better for next year. And then it snowballed into, well, if we're going to budget for next year and we're going to try and get a little bit better with our money. And we started just doing things like, she's a math major as well. She teaches math in high school. And we just started thinking, I think at the time, my debt minimums for the month were like $3,100. And back then on 2 teacher salaries, we were making a lot of money. And we said to ourselves, could you imagine? And it's crazy in hindsight now, we think about it because we're investing over $10,000 a month right now. We're like, could you imagine if we had just $3,000 free and clear? And we printed out the amortization table with the snowball. And we're like, if we do this in 3 years, 4 years, we'll have that's a $36,000 raise we'll have. And we truly believed it and we worked towards it. And when we didn't go on vacations, we said, listen, when we're making an extra $3,000 a month that right now we're paying the government, that we can start paying ourselves, we can go on a $3,000 vacation every single month. And we'd be living the exact same lifestyle. And it was conversations like that. And it was monthly meetings and it was tough conversation. It was all the cliche things that Dave Ramsey talks about. but we knew that we were going to have, these were tough conversations that were going to bring less stress to our marriage in the future when we started to want kids and things like that. Because little did we know then, daycare costs would be, I think I pay like $3,000 a month now in just daycare costs. I never would have been able to do that. So we knew if we had those tough conversations early, that would be better than tough conversations later when, you know, we would have more at risk in our relationship later on. And it just, I was blessed. And we made a video, it's on my YouTube channel. As my YouTube channel evolved, I definitely unlisted a lot of things, but the video of me and my wife sitting in this very spot, the day that we paid off our student loan, it was a truck payment and it was $3,000. I had $3,000 left and we paid it off and we sat right here. And we go back and look at that. My payoff is September 19th, 2019, the day after my son was born. So we brought my son into this world, into a debt-free family. That's how I remember all these dates off the top of my head. But now we watch that, just like our wedding anniversary, we watch that video and we watch how we've aged. We watched how so many things with our belief in money has stayed the same, how we've evolved, how we've changed, and how we are able to do. So many people like, we just got back from a 3-week trip. They're like, you're on teacher salary. How'd you go to Montana for 3.5 weeks? Like, I don't have a debt. I don't have any mortgage. Like, my cost of living is eating, my phone bill, and my daycare. Like, that's it, you know? So it's kind of nice.
So Dave Ramsey is a big believer in paying off your mortgage. So is that why you paid off your mortgage? And can you just talk about that? Because we talked about your student loan debt, and that was a pretty big deal. $190,000 combined for both you and your wife. And only 3 years you paid all that off. Yeah. I'm not really sure how you did it, but
I'll tell you.
Do you still have your kidneys?
No, I started small bubusinesses, man. Well, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship in a second, but you did, why'd we pay the mortgage off?
Yeah. Or how'd that go?
Yeah. So I was against it for a while, and I have to give credit to my buddy, JJ Buckner. He's also a huge personal finance guy on YouTube, and he lived in Missouri and he wanted his mortgage gone. And his reason for wanting his mortgage gone was he was just a YouTuber. And he's like, if something happened in YouTube, I want to make sure that I have the least amount of living expenses possible. He understood the math. He understood that he had a low, but he just wanted that relief. And I was on the other side where I'm like, I'm a tenured teacher. I know my income for the foreseeable future. I know my wife's income. Like, I don't have a fickle salary. I don't have a fickle income. I'm not a seasonal worker. I'm not in, you know what I mean? And I think that there's a lot of people that are like, all right, well, with that low interest rate, I can essentially just keep my mortgage. And it would have been fine. My mortgage wasn't a lot to begin with. I think it was like $300,000, something like that. And it was just seeing him just never regret it. Like, he never, ever regretted it. And I said, all right, well, we can start taking some pretty big chunks out of this thing. And essentially I was investing in VTI, and for the same reasons, not because Dave Ramsey, because I was far removed from Dave Ramsey when I finally paid it off. The only reason that I did it was because I said, well, in times like this, it's hard to be a teacher sometimes. And a guy like me that walks the fine line, I got a big mouth, things like that. I'm like, let's just say I got canceled and I pissed somebody off. Our life would be a lot better. I could go work at the local pizzeria to give our family a future if I got fired from my job now. It would be a lot harder if we had this $3,000 mortgage. So why don't I just pay this off, have that just relief, that just off my shoulders, and not care so much about, the efficiency of like in 10 years, the return on that with this. I didn't care about that. I did it strictly for relief. I just didn't want that payment. And yeah, it's not something I regret. If anything, it made me maybe a little too frugal. Like now, like we'll have to, like I need to redo my deck. And I'm like, I don't want to like go into the HELOC for that. Like where if I had maybe a $200,000 mortgage, I might hit the HELOC for 60 grand and like do the back nice and do some pavers around the pool and things like that. But now I said with essentially just my property taxes, insurance, food, and my cell phone, like I can't do it. So it's a blessing and a curse, but I've never met, and these are what people will tell you, no mortgage. I've never met anybody that regretted paying their mortgage off early. Never.
Yeah. A few years ago when interest rates were at 2.3 or 3.1 or whatever people were lucky enough to get, I think the argument was stronger then to not pay it off. But now the interest rates are 7.5, 8 plus. I mean, now it's just really just like,
I think mine was
math
like,
is less important now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just under 4 when I did it. But you also like said, back to that double-edged sword, those people that have those really low interest rates, are they kind of trapped at their houses right now? Like if they want to sell, like after you had that low interest rate for so long, you're thinking to yourself, how do I get rid of this house and go to a house with 7? Well, the fact of the matter is if you go up to that house with 7, you might be forced to pay off your mortgage a little bit faster, which you might not be comfortable with. Me, regardless of what my interest rate was, if I want to move, I'm getting 100% equity off the sale of my house. So, but let's say my house is worth $700,000 in the state of New York right now. Even if I wanted to go up to $1 million, I could put $600,000 down and have a $400,000 mortgage, even at a high interest rate that I've already attacked a mortgage once before. I know how to attack it again. And that's probably what I would do. And it wouldn't be the end of the world for me. It would still be a 15-year fixed rate mortgage, just like Dave Ramsey says. And I would pay it every 2 weeks instead of monthly to get that extra payment every single month. And it would be gone in 7 years. And that would be the end of the day.
Yeah. So the two leading things that Dave Ramsey pushes for or endorses is, or advocates, is paying off a mortgage and staying out of debt.
Right.
It's been 5 years since you've paid off your student loans.
Right.
How has your opinion of Dave Ramsey and or personal finance rules, thumbs, guidelines, right, wrong, how has that shifted in the last 5 years?
You want me to go against the Dave Ramsey crowd?
Get ready. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think first and foremost, I think his emergency fund needs to go up. I think it was $1,000 emergency fund or whatever it was. I think that people should probably look at their monthly expenses, and I think you should have a month's worth of expenses in the bank as an emergency fund. That's for me. Like now, when we made my emergency fund, which is still in a Capital One savings account, like that we made years ago, I went around and I said, everything I need in this house to live, if it all broke today, how much was it? I literally went around and itemized my my clothes washer, my furnace, my heater, my air conditioners, and said, if all this crap's out today, how much do I need? That's how I made my emergency fund. But I think that $1,000 is a little light, especially now. When he made that was probably in the 80s, maybe even the 70s. I think that's like one thing that I definitely disagree with. I definitely think there needs to be a little bit of a talk of the debt avalanche and how high interest rate could really benefit somebody. I think when he started, there was a lot less credit card debt. I think a lot of it was student loans and car payments and things like that, where in the last decade or so, people have really racked up these high interest. And I know that he's speaking to the masses. And I know that the debt snowball is pretty much, you're not requiring people to do any math except for like adding numbers. But I think if, we leaned into that and he taught both and he did the pros and the cons of both and how attacking high interest rates might be beneficial. And I tell people, like, if it's over 20, that's when I would start thinking about avalanche. Anything under 20, it's one way or the other. In both ways, you're doing great, but that's somewhere where I differ from him. Another place that we differ big is like, I think his baby step 5 is invest 15% of your income. Why stop at 15? If you got 20% to invest, I think people, especially when you understand compound interest and you're young, I think you should be throwing everything at investments. And I think a common misconception is that all investments are going to tie your money and you're never going to get to it. So like, I don't have any money in my checking account. Like, it's just an inbox for me. And then it gets sprayed everywhere. I don't even have a debit card. Like, I can't be held up at gunpoint. It's all in a money market account or a savings account. And when I can invest 50% of my income, I do it. And I learned about that when we got to like Mr. Money Mustache and things like, well, I can invest 15. Yeah. But if I can invest 70, why not? In some months it's 40. So I think there's a difference of opinions there. And then I think the last one really that were really, really different is he talks about like the 3 different mutual funds that he would invest in. I think one's domestic, one's foreign, and one's a little, I am a simple path to wealth. And I'm a big psychology of money. I'm a boglehead. And I now can speak from 5 years of experience through a down market. We just got kind of out of a bear market for a year or so, and now just a raging bull market, all-time highs. I think VTI is just the way to go. The S&P 500 is the way to go. And if you're a Fidelity person, FSKAX is just the way to go. You don't need to worry about your foreign exposure. You know, people are like, oh, but you know, are you exposed in foreign markets? And I'm like, if you don't think that Apple is generating revenue overseas, then you don't know much. So I am investing overseas. I'm just doing it through companies that maybe are based here in the United States. So I think if you put all those together, maybe a little bit bigger emergency fund, a little bit bigger cash cushion, invest as much money as you can, stay a little bit on high interest debts if you really, really can, and don't overcomplicate things. VTI or life, you know, the S&P 500, if you don't want the total market, every retirement fund, like even your 401ks, your 403bs, all these things have some sort of S&P 500 index fund, and that's the only route you really need to go.
What are your thoughts on credit cards?
Love them. I love credit card hacking, and I actually learned that through the FI community. And when I was fortunate enough to come to Camp FI and hear like people that there's some credit card hackers out there. I'm not that hardcore, but I'll tell you, I have an airline card. I have a hotel card. I haven't paid for a Hyatt in 4 years. I haven't paid for a flight in a very, very long time. And I've gone through all the airlines. I've had an Alaska credit card. I've had a JetBlue credit card. I've had a Delta credit card. I've had them all. But I think, well, because Dave Ramsey hates credit cards. I was actually supposed to do my debt-free scream on Dave Ramsey. And when they onboarded me, I was honest. And I was like, because I knew it was on the internet. I had videos on my favorite credit cards, and I'm not going to lie to people. And, you know, I spoke to Kelly at the time. She was the producer, and she's like, Brad, I can't let you on. Like, even if we don't talk credit cards, it just goes against our philosophies. And yeah, I was scheduled to do my debt-free scream and never got to do it for that reason. But I understand, like I said, he talks to the masses. And as I mentioned earlier, I never really had a lot of credit card debt. When I told my wife, Dave Ramsey said, we need to cut up our credit card. She's like, why? We don't carry a balance. Like, why do we? And I'm like, no, we need to do it. And I think that's one of the major problems with Dave Ramsey. There's no gray area. It's all or nothing. But like, he has to, because it's easy for him to appeal to the masses and know that he's not going to have any liability than to give some people rope. Because when you give some people rope, sometimes they hang themselves, and you don't want that blood on your hands. So I love him. Like, I don't have a debit card. Everything I pay for, even so, like credit card, just a protection. Like, how many times have you ever bought something and realized you're scammed that's on your debit card, and you call Bank of America and try and get your money back? It's not, you're going to have to jump through hoops for weeks. I call up my Visa card and I'm like, hey, this is fishy. They refund that money. They apologize to me that it happened. They do the investigation. They do all the phone calls. And then I just get an email that says we're good to go. So for the protection of my money and then the points, I never hold it for more than a year though. I never hold a card. They used to waive that first $95 fee early in the year, but I don't think they do it. So, but my TSA pre-check, that was a perk of the Capital One Venture card. I'm on TSA pre-check for that. And so if you use them responsibly, I have all mine on auto pay. I haven't had a credit card balance in a really long time. But that's a slippery slope. It can be a slippery slope. But if you have a little bit of discipline, and I said, it's easy for me to say doing it now for, 5, 6, 7 years now. I couldn't just do that in the beginning. I had to learn how to manage that, start with one card and then then go to two. And you just learn, you learn from speaking to people and knowing that you're not the smartest person in the room and that you can learn from others and get some unsolicited advice sometimes. And it might actually help out.
Well, I think you're pretty smart. And even if you're not the smartest person in the room, you are smart enough to have started how many entrepreneurial ventures? Can you just list them right off the bat and then we'll get into each one?
So, I guess I never thought YouTube was going to be a business, but I think that was really, besides like selling soda in high school and doing that sort of thing. But YouTube, I started the YouTube as really just an accountability partner. I'm a big like say it out loud. So people, especially the internet, they'll call BS on you. And I knew that if I just said to myself, I'm going to pay off my debt, then I probably could do it for a week or so and I'd fall off. And it really started as I never even knew you could make money on YouTube. And then you talk to people and you're like, oh, and I've made a lot of money on YouTube. But my speech actually at Camp FI when I got to speak there a couple of years ago was all about monetizing my hobbies. And that's something also I've always wanted to do. And I get a little bit of that from my parents. Like my dad was always like, hey, how can we barter this with somebody? In his day, it was more bartering. What do I have to offer people that I can offer them? And then they'll give me some service in return so that I can do things, they can do things, and everyone's happy. Well, to me, that just translated into let's try and monetize our hobbies. So the first thing that I monetized was I was doing triathlons. And a buddy of mine was like, I'm a good programmer. And I hopped in with him and we started timing triathlons. And then I started CrossFitting. And I was like, I'm walking to this CrossFit gym and I'm like, the business side of me is like, there's no overhead here. So I was like, I'm going to do this a little bit better. It was in the early days of CrossFit. I think there was like 3 of them on Long Island. I must have been the 4th. And we opened that gym in like 2013 or so. And it's still open to this day. I've exited. I exited that business to open a brewery. I loved drinking back in the day. So much so that I don't drink anymore. But that was another business that's grown into a multi-million-dollar business. We have 2 properties. We have a 2-acre farm upstate New York with pumpkin picking and apple picking and a lake and a restaurant. And I've exited that business and moved on from that. And now really my main side business besides coaching is maintaining that YouTube channel. And I coach a lot of ultra runners. So yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I think my biggest exit from my company was definitely the brewery, and CrossFit was a fair amount of money too. But now I'm getting old. I don't have time for that. The kids are taking too much out of me. So just now YouTube, I have about 4 or 5 monetized YouTube channels that I maintain and operate on a regular basis, as well as my coaching business. I coach about 25 athletes as well.
You bring up the coaching business, and I'm going to make a plug for you personally. You and I have not spoken. And as of the time of this recording, you and I have not spoken for a year and a half, 2 years. 2 years, I think.
I want to say,
right?
I want to say even, was it 3?
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
And so whether you're watching this on YouTube,
it was 3 years ago because I take my family away for the summer every year. And last year we did Oregon. And the year before that, we did Colorado, and I ended up parlaying that trip to Colorado Camp FI into a family vacation. This 3 summers ago, 3 years.
Oh, yeah, time does fly. Yeah. But in those 3 years, you've made significant changes, so much so that I hardly recognized you whenever I was on YouTube and I somehow stumbled across one of your videos. And I was like, is that Brad? He looks familiar. And I know people may have never heard of you who are listening to the podcast right now. And we'll put your link to your YouTube in the show notes. But what captured my attention was when we met in Camp FI in Colorado 3 years ago. I'm looking at you right now, and I'm going to guess. I don't know how tall you are. I think you're maybe just a few inches shorter than me. I'm 6'2", so I'm going to guess around 5'11". And at that time, my guess for your weight was probably, and I'm going to just be flat out, 240.
240 on the dot, man.
That's a guess.
5'11". My heaviest, I was 245, 250, and I'm 5'11" at that time. Yeah.
And I'm going to guess right now, 181.
Nah, I'm lighter now.
What?
Yeah, and I've actually gained a little weight. I did a 100-mile ultra marathon in April, and I raced that race at 150. So about 100 pounds, and I'm walking around right now at like 165.
Good Lord, man. Congratulations. That's awesome.
And I'll tell you, it might sound cliche, but I think financial independence has helped that. I mean, to take care of yourself, and I'm 42 years old, I'll be 43 in March. To take care of yourself and maintain good health, you you need to have the least amount of stress in your life as possible. And I am a man, I'm a stoic. I love the stoic philosophies, and I love happiness and joy. And I can take care of myself because I'm so happy. And I not having to worry about money, it's nice. And I'm not like a yacht guy. I drive an old Toyota still, all the cliche things, Dave Ramsey. I drive an old truck. My wife drives an even older RAV4. I'm in a 1,400 square foot house, nothing crazy. We're school teachers, but we are so happy. And I look back at those times when I got to 240, 250, because that was never me. I was a collegiate athlete. Like, that was never me. And I realized that leading into that was a very stressful, that was when we were on the grind. That was right when we finished up being on that grind. And, you know, those were, like I mentioned, tough couple years, a lot of hard conversations with the wife, you know, and starting businesses, and the brewery definitely didn't help. That was definitely not a healthy lifestyle for me. And I hid a lot of that stress and anxiety through alcoholism. And when I exited the brewery and I relieved that stress from my life, and I got rid of that toxicity, not the business, but the actual toxicity of drinking, I was able to really, really focus on myself again and find who I was. And I never set out to lose weight. I never really knew how big I was. When you gain weight like that and you're bubbly and fun, like I never knew. And it wasn't until I look at pictures now, I say to my wife, like, you still loved me through that? Like, how did you let me get, because I think I was wearing, actually, in a picture I took with all the guests that they had speaking that week, and I'm in a Bigger Pockets t-shirt, and I still have that exact same t-shirt. And I look at myself now wearing that shirt, standing next to Rachel, and she's a smaller, petite, smaller girl. And I'm like, I just look like I'm like a bear engulfing her. Like, I was like, holy cow, I can't even believe it. And I owe some of that to money. I really, really do. I owe a lot of that to FI, because without it, I wouldn't have been able to put enough time and energy into focusing on myself and my sobriety and things like that. And thank you for noticing that, because I don't post as much on YouTube anymore. I probably post on that main money channel maybe once a month now. It's kind of like an evergreen channel. It's a Google search kind of channel. And when I do post, I'll have people that haven't seen a video in a couple months, and some people are like, are you okay? Like, you lost a lot of weight quick. And it's nice to have that. And with the coaching, and it's nice to inspire others, because there's one thing when you have people giving you advice and you don't think they've ever been where you've been. And that's even back to the Dave Ramsey thing. It's very easy for me to help people with their 401k at work when they're like, no, you don't get it. I'm trying to buy a house. We're thinking about having a baby. And I'm like, yeah, here's Brad in 2016. And they're like, wow, you had that much debt? Yeah. You really didn't go on vacation for 3 years? Yeah. You know, and look at the smile on my face now. Can you put in 3 years right now to have the rest of your life? That's it. I was 40 when I became financially independent. Like, I teach for the love of the game. That's it. Everyone, why do you still teach? Because I love it. I teach seniors. They keep me young. They keep me, you know, and all money related. You know, it's all these things. You don't understand the ripple effect. It taught me discipline. You know, it taught me to forego short-term gratification, right? If you want to find a path to sobriety and you know you have a problem, you know that you're not going to see the benefits for 6 months or a year. Same as paying off debt. Like, if you start paying off debt and think that you're going to be going on vacation and rolling around and it's going to be over, you know, it's like, how many years did it take you to get into debt? It's probably going to take you that many years plus more to get out of debt because you're paying interest. And it just taught me all of these things about discipline and avoiding short-term gratification and really just focusing on one goal, keeping it simple, and move forward. But thanks for noticing. I feel better than I've ever felt, and I really do. And I'm not a cliche. This is not a mask I wear. I'm genuinely happy and proud of the work that I put in, and I don't apologize for it. And sometimes it comes off as arrogant, and that's fine for me, because I have the stack of work to back up my mouth, you know?
Yeah. Well, Congratulations again. And you do look great.
Thank you.
And I think that's awesome. I think your kids are going to be better for it. Your wife, she's going to be better for it too.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you offline, like, what was your wife thinking? And she didn't tell you straight to your face, but hey, man, you're a little bit heavier than you used to be. What's going on? And never once?
She, what we talk about now, she's like, well, I figured one day I'd probably gain some weight. And I knew she's about 8 years younger than me. So she's like, if I started busting your chops for getting too heavy, and then she's like, I knew you could lose weight because she knew that I was just being unhealthy. If I got healthy, I'd lose weight. She's like, and then a couple of years, I start gaining weight. That would give you the green light to start making the comments of me. No, but I think she knows what she married, and she genuinely, just like I love her unconditionally, she loves me unconditionally, and it's kind of nice. You know, she went from being married to literally a morbidly obese drunk guy to 150-pound, no more dad bod, you know, walks around with his shirt off, 40-year-old, and that runs ultra marathons. And yeah, we're finding a newfound love in our relationship. We'll just say that.
Very good. But
Yeah.
you did go through that stressful time as an entrepreneur, starting and then selling off your businesses. Looking at the economic conditions back then as compared to now. Now you've got credit card debt at an all-time high. You've got student loans that continue to be a draw on people's finances. And sometimes you do need money to make money. So that could be keeping people from starting their entrepreneurial ventures.
Yeah.
And you do have the stock market at all-time high or very near it as we record this. I'm not sure exactly what happened today, but it's still within a couple percentage of the top. And you got inflation. So is now a better time to start a business as an entrepreneur than it was for you back then, or vice versa? How do you see it now?
I am one of those people that believes that there's been no better time to make money than right now. There's never been an easier time to make money than right now. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this as a school teacher, but I think school is dumb. And I think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are outside looking in that point at today's youth, even like the 20-somethings. And they think that they're lazy, and they think that they want higher wages. And I think the fact that, I think I heard Gary Vee, I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is, but
Yeah.
I've heard him say, like, the kids aren't messed up. We are. Like, they don't want to sit in, they don't need to go flip burgers. They can make money on the internet. They can be TikTokers. So why are you going to go to college? You know, and I think there needs to be a flip of, you know, you don't make money and the world isn't the way it was. I think there definitely is a little bit of false sense of security. I think there's a lot of kids that think that everybody's going to make it on the internet. But I think what I tell my 18-year-olds, because they know that I have online businesses, I tell them, like, every single business that I ever started, I really had no intentions of really ever making money. I monetized hobbies. So first and foremost, they were always just to like break even on a hobby or get my hobby down a little bit less. And I think if you start there and you're genuine and you're authentic, the money just comes to you. It finds if you build it, it will come. But if you start with like, I need to make money, that's going to be stress from the beginning. Like, take my podcast, for example. I don't make any money on my podcast. That's a labor of love. I do it because I love it. Now, if I continue it and I'm consistent and I work hard, are sponsors going to come eventually? Yeah, probably, most likely. But I never sit down at the podcast mic and I'm like, oh man, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one that makes me a millionaire. And I never post an Instagram reel and I'm like, this is going to be the one. It's always like, if I post Instagram reels on a regular basis, I'm probably going to grow my following and brands are probably going to notice that. And I'm probably going to make a couple bucks. And I think even with all-time highs and inflation, it's so easy to scale with the internet that if you are, and this is part of my speech in the monetizing your hobbies, if you are the person that your friends call for something, like you are the go-to, there's no reason you should not be making money online doing that. And so many people want to think like, oh, that's saturated, or somebody else is doing it, or it's been done before. There's too many people. And I say, like, my YouTube channel at one point was generating over $150,000 a year. Do you think that people were going onto my YouTube channel because they needed me to tell them that they needed to pay off debt? Do you think they needed Brad Finn to tell them what the debt snowball was? They could have listened to the Dave Ramsey podcast. But what people wanted was my authenticity. They wanted to go on and be like, I'm a school teacher. He's a school teacher. I can do this. They want to see like, oh, he's running all of these ultra marathons. He's got 2 kids. I can probably find time as well. And everybody has that story. And if you are going and you keep answering the phone and answering the same question for your friend, as opposed to recording a video and then sending them the link to that video every single time they call you, I just think you're letting the best of this current world pass you by. Especially as a 40-something-year-old guy, I go through imposter syndrome where I look at these influencers and these people on Instagram and I'm like, they're in their 20s. They don't have kids. They don't do this. And then I just go back to like, I don't need to be 20. I just need to be me. And I'm just documenting it. And you're going to make money. You will over time, but it comes with like anything, hard work and consistency.
You mentioned you had like 4 or 5 different YouTube channels, and I don't know if that's like right now or over the history. Can you just share the history of your YouTube channels and how they've evolved? And what does success in YouTube mean to you in that context?
So the first channel I ever made was the personal finance. It started as Baby Steps Brad. That was me. And that was my journey of paying off debt. And I made a couple videos a week. And the channel grew. I think it took maybe like 2 years to get to 1,000 subscribers, which would allowed me to be monetized on YouTube. And after that, like it definitely makes it more, I guess, easier to make videos when you know you're probably going to get something in return. But still not a lot of money. I think the first time that I made like $1,000 on YouTube, I probably had, I would say between 5 and 10,000 subscribers was the first time I had like $1,000 a month. Maybe even more than that. It's hard for me to really remember. But once I realized that I could go on and just literally tell my story and make mistakes too, because the internet will tell you and then you learn from them.
Yeah.
I said, well, I know a couple other things that I could make YouTube content about. So I'm a physics teacher. My wife is a math teacher. We pretty much was like, I can record each one of my lessons because we had a problem where kids would go on week-long field trips or they'd have a sporting event or they'd be sick or have mono and I had to send work home for them and stuff because that's part of my job. I said, man, wouldn't it be great if a kid was absent and I could just spit them a YouTube video and they could get the whole lesson. They could watch it here and there. And I would just slowly build it over time. My wife's like, that's it. And this is before COVID. Like this was when people were making fun of me for making videos. And then COVID came around where you needed videos and nobody had them. So that's when my channel that channel blew up. I have a math and physics tutor channel and teachers from all over the country were using mine and my wife's things because we had such a really, really good YouTube channel with good audio that I'd learned, microphones, things like that. So that was the second channel that we got to 10,000 followers. And then I had a podcast with a great friend of mine that I mentioned before, JJ Buckner, and it was called Average Money. We monetized that YouTube channel. That podcast has since dwindled away to the wayside, and I've gone more on my own because JJ and I were in different time zones. It was very, very difficult. So we had that monetized YouTube channel, and then my current podcast YouTube channel. And then I have a YouTube channel dedicated to coaching and ultra marathons and running, weight loss, sobriety, and all that too. So yeah, besides the Average Money podcast, they're still evolving YouTube channels and they still generate a pretty good income. As if you Google how to make money on YouTube, you're always going to hear the AdSense revenue is just a cherry on top. The real money that you're going to make is in sponsorships. And the real money that you're going to make is early on in affiliate marketing and things like that, or, building to speaking engagements. And it's a whole big network. My LLC and my incorporation, they're a media company, and everything that we do from editing videos to, making thumbnails and all the things you read about are really there. And it just depends on how far you really want to take it. But I mean, it's a rewarding business, but it does. For the first 4 years of my channel, I posted 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, without fail. And all the big guys on YouTube, Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, if you go back and look, they were posting 3 times a week. And most of my videos, because I am a school teacher and I love explaining things, a lot of my content was Google search. I have videos now that get 1,000 views a day that are 6 years old, and like, because the times haven't really changed how to do this, how to do that, how to figure this out, how to get yourself out of a jam, all of those videos, and I can go back and remake them, but they're still pretty good. And it's a very, very good business, the internet. And back to, is it hard to make money these days? Or I think it's hard to be picky. I mean, if you're going to be picky and you want get rich quick, like you want to walk in McDonald's and make $40 an hour, like you're just flipping a burger. Let's be honest. Is that worth $40 an hour? But if you learn something and you can charge whatever you want because it's you, you can consult for whatever you want. You have to build up that reputation first. But once you have that reputation, it's very, very easy to make money on the internet these days.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. As if you don't have enough going on, you also have a particular hobby that some in the FI community might shun. That is options trading.
Yeah. I am a day trader, and I lost so many. I remember the first time I made a day trading video, and I was like, I am going to get butchered. I'm going to get eviscerated in the comment section. Because at that time, I was no longer Baby Steps Brad. I had changed it, but I still had a core following. I think when I first made my first options video, I probably had like 75,000 subscribers, maybe 60 or 70,000 subscribers. And I knew that 2/3 of them were Dave Ramsey people. And I'll tell you that I didn't get wrecked in the comments. They all just left. My first options video, I think I lost 10,000 subscribers. So I went from, I went from 70 to 60 literally overnight. That made me question so many things, but it was something I wanted to do. And I was always authentic, and I always told people the highs and the lows, and the feedback was kind of good. Like, I lost a lot of subscribers, but the videos got a lot of views. And once again, the comment section was engaged, and they were asking me questions, and I'm like, this is what I want. So I really got into it because I am not an expert at anything, but I know a lot of things, done a lot of things, and I hate not knowing nothing about a subject. I hate it. So when I finally got to that spot in money where this was, when there's all these ways to scam money or get rich quick. There was AMC GameStops, and there was Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies. And from everyone I talked to, I was like, all right, well, you get 10% of your net worth to kind of mess around and kind of play around with your money and have some fun. And some people like to spend their money on vacations. Some people like to go out to eat. Some people have hobbies, like they like to build Legos or collect cars. I don't do any of that. Mm-hmm. I loved playing poker. I have a little bit of a gambler's mentality, and that kind of carried in. I was like, yeah, day trading is kind of like gambling, but I understood that there are certain levels. Like I gave this analogy once in a talk. I said, like, saying you don't like options is like saying you don't like sports, because the world of options, it's not one thing. And it's kind of like ignorance. Like, people don't know it, so it's just easier to hate it. And I saw myself with a calling of like, yeah, is there really, really risky day trading with options? Of course. Like the AMC, GameStop, all of that, where people became millionaires overnight, that was a risk. But there's a far side to the other side that is very conservative, that with certain risk management can be somewhat safe. And that's the way that I went. And still to this day, people still clump all of options trading and all the types of options trading with just one thing: danger and gambling. And like I said, that's like saying you don't like sports. I can't stand basketball, but I love baseball. So am I not going to watch baseball because I hate basketball? No, I'm just going to focus on that and become really good at it. And that's really what happened with options. I said, okay, well, I see all these rich people, and without diving too deep, I'll use something called the cash secure put. And I saw that many, many millionaires and billionaires were using this method of the cash secure put. Essentially, buying an options contract that would allow you to buy 100 shares of a stock at whatever price you wanted. You get to set that buy price. Now, the share price has to come down to it for it to happen. But in taking that chance, you made a little bit of money. And I'm like, all of these guys that have all of this cash on reserve, it's not in money market accounts and stuff. It's in cash secure puts. And these are people that analyze a stock and know that it's overvalued, but if it comes down to this price, it's going to be a good buy. So I might as well put in the order now to be able to buy it if it ever comes down there. And while I wait, I collect a little bit of money in premium for making that options contract. That's what I do. I sell options contracts. I don't buy options, I sell them. But I sell options contracts, and I realized, wow, like this is a really, really conservative. I don't want to use the word safe because anything in investing has its risks, but it was very, very conservative. And I also made it clear for years, and I can't say it in every video now, but it's less than 10% of my net worth. My entire net worth is VTI. My 403B, my 401k, my solo 401k, my Roth IRA, everything is VTI. And this was just my little bit of extra money. And I don't want to say like house money because that's also a bad term, but a lot of the money that I day trade with is money I earned from making videos on how to day trade. So that's another great thing about YouTube, right? I make a video, that video makes me money. I can use that money. I think of it as like, investing it back into the business. I can use that money the video made. Now I can make bigger trades, which is going to be more of a wow factor, which is going to bring in more views, which is going to make me more money. And I have that endless cycle. And then for the last 2 years or so, I have a $50,000 Robinhood account and I trade in my Discord and I have a community there. And every single month, at the end of the month, if it's over 50,000, I take the money out to keep me from getting into lifestyle creep. If it's below 50,000, because I lose some months, I just leave it alone. And yeah, I've been doing that with the $50,000 Robinhood account. I made a book about selling options, which was another source of income that sold on Amazon. And I have a Discord community with a paywall, which has been a really, really good thing. And I think as long as you understand that, just like Dave Ramsey said, that money can be set on fire and it would not affect my life. And I hate talking numbers. I like to talk in percentages, but since I brought it up, like $50,000 loss to me, it would sting. It would suck. And like, I'd be probably pretty upset with myself, but it wouldn't change my life or my future in any way, shape, or form. And that's just where I'm at in my life. And going to percentages, like that's like less than 1% of my net worth at this point. So I can use it as discretionary. It's entertainment for me. You go to the casino and you know you're going to lose, you can still have a great weekend in Vegas. I can still go on and potentially lose some money trading options and still have a great time because I don't travel and I don't do those things. And I've had a really, really great time on YouTube and the community talking with people with an open mind. It's kind of like back to the credit cards. When you learn that like credit cards aren't as evil as Dave Ramsey wants them to be and their strategy, and you can be conservative, not safe. You can be conservative with credit cards. You're like, man, these points are kind of awesome. Same thing with options. The people that had an open mind were like, Brad, I trust you. Tell me, and then I'll make my decisions. And I show them, I give them a book. They enter the community. We do it together. I walk them through it. And they're like, wow, this is a great way to make a couple $100 every single month. And I'm like, yeah, I've shown now for 5 years, I can make 2% consistently. And I did it in the down market. I'm doing it in the up market. It's great. You know, that's 24% a year. That's who doesn't want an extra 24%? But to get to that 24%, you have to overcome the stigma of like, options are the worst thing ever. I love them.
Well, I don't know if they're bad or not because I've never gotten involved with them, but I am going to check out your book.
I'll have to send you one, but you probably don't. Yeah, but how much of you not knowing about it is because the FI community has made you believe that it's not worth something to learn.
Well, I don't even think it's talked about that much at all in the FI community. Other than honestly, I think I was more intimidated by it before I even knew about the FI community. Just reading normal kind of books. I think I tried to learn about it once. I'm like, I don't know all this terminology and. You got to catch it before it gets this,
there's
points and pips or whatever. I don't know what the hell it is. So
there's vocab.
Yeah. So So I'm going to check out your book. And no, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to get it on Amazon. But thank you for that.
Thank you. Leave a review.
Yeah. What the hell? So many grammatical errors. Good thing it's about money. Yeah.
Oh no, that's because I wrote it. So if you actually, the reviews are, I don't know who edited this thing, but it's crap. Like there's going to be some typos, but a physics teacher wrote it, and I wrote it like the way I speak. Like when you read it, so many people have told me, like, I read it and I can hear your voice. Like I almost want to make it like an audiobook so that people can like listen along. Cause I'm sure grammatically, I don't think there's really any more spelling typos. I've tried to get most of those and had my Discord find most of them. But I'm sure grammatically, like we were like, you can't talk it. I'm from New York. I can talk however I want. But please do not expect there to be no typos or grammatical errors, or you will. If you are an English major, please don't read my book. You will be very, very upset by the end.
So you're pro options. So you got open mind about things, and you're willing to take those steps. But there is one thing that I know you to be fairly closed-minded about, or at least have been in the past. At that Camp FI, Carl and Mindy Jensen gave a talk, and I think during their talk they said, everybody wants to learn about real estate except for Brad, something to that effect. I remember that comment. And then, because I think you had already expressed your disdain towards real estate. However, since then, you still don't own real estate, but you have sort of dabbled in a tertiary way.
Yes.
Hard money lending for people who purchase real estate.
Yes. And I also will say, here's another hot take about real estate. I think that your primary residence can be an asset.
Oh, hell. I got it. Can we stop recording right now?
Because I've used my HELOC to make me a lot of money. I really have.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's how you're funding your options trading, your HELOC?
That's exactly it. Yeah. I think what happened was I went to Camp FI, and I knew friends with Mindy and Carl before. I think Carl's actually the guy that got me the gig. And so I knew Bigger Pockets, and I always like looked into it because I always felt like everyone's doing it. I got it. Like the FOMO. I was always like, everybody's in real estate. And those books over my shoulder, half of those are Bigger Pockets books. I've read them all. And then, James and Emily were there, and they did the short-term rentals, and like everyone was, and Rachel was there, and she was killing it with syndicates. And I'm like, am I the donkey in the room? And
maybe for other reasons.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I was drinking, but I realized like it wasn't for me. Like I love VTI for the simplicity. I want to be set it and forget it. And I know there'll be the other side that's like, you only hear horrors in real estate, horror stories in real estate. It's all bad, and I was never that guy. I didn't even want that one phone call at 3 a.m. I just never wanted it. There was just nothing in my eyes. And when the markets turned a little bit and went down, I was like, oh man, because real estate was still doing okay. And I was like, maybe I'm an idiot. But then the market started soaring again, and my money started doing good again. And I know my personality, and I think you have to know your personality. I'm not confrontational. So like I could never like knock on a door of somebody not paying rent, or somebody would be like, you owe me rent. Like that could never be me. Or like, I'm not even great at like finding a handyman. Like the amount of weird projects I've just YouTubed and did in my own house, because I was too like that anxiety. I just knew it wasn't for me. But I always knew there was ways to make money in real estate. And what I found out too, because I always said to the people that are doing it, like, hey, if you ever want to go in on a deal, let me know. Mm-hmm. And I realized they were always like, yeah, I'll let you know. But real estate people are very competitive, and they're very secretive about their deals. It's kind of like, I live on the water, and like fishermen, they don't give out their numbers. They don't tell you their coordinates or where they catch fish. You catch a fish, you post it on Instagram, you do not tell anybody where you caught that fish. That is your spot. And I feel like real estate people are a lot like that. Like, why am I going to split the deal with you, dude? Like, if the deal's good and the numbers are good, I'm going to just fund it myself. Like, I don't need to bring you in so I can teach you how to teach real estate. And I feel like for the longest time, that was the pitch that I had. The pitch I had was like, hey, can I go in on a real estate deal with you so I can say that I have a property and that I can learn from you? And then it turned into like, that doesn't make any sense for them.
Yeah.
I understand why they're not doing it. how about this deal? How about I just be the bank? I don't own the property at all. I'll give you the money. I'll take some points on the top and I'll take a certain percentage that I want. And you can flip the house. You can do whatever you want. I'll take first lien on the property. And it turned out that like lending hard money was just, it was like an investment. It was much easier for me. I didn't have to worry about any of the stresses except for I had to do due diligence, obviously. And I work with now people that are very well trusted. You can't just give anybody 200 grand, you know?
Yeah.
But once I had trusted people that I worked with and was doing that, that's the way to do it. So I think you can make money in real estate like options trading a lot of different ways. And I just never wanted to, I wanted to own properties, but for the wrong reasons. I wanted to own properties so I could tell people I had properties. I didn't want to own properties so that I could build wealth, which sounds ridiculous now in hindsight, but I can't believe how many years. And I think Camp FI was when I had the realization, because we sit around and we talk and Camp FI is amazing and people are open books and they want to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I just didn't talk to anybody where I was like, yeah, you handled that amazing. Like you handled that problem, no problem. I couldn't have done that. I'm not that guy. My buddy JJ, I keep bringing him up. He has 2 real estate properties in a different city from where he lives. He's got his manager. He's got his, I couldn't, that's just not me. It's just not the person I am. And once I realized that, I don't think you're ever going to see me own real estate.
I think you're interesting because for anybody that knows you, they probably would agree with me that you have this huge personality. I remember meeting you and you just filled the room. Everybody, when you walked in, you knew you were in the room. You were loud, you were talkative, you were pleasant to be around, you were jovial, you were fun, and you were smart, and you were heartfelt at times. But you do have a big personality. And you talked about the psychology of money and your personality. I do think something's interesting because you just said you like to set it and forget it. Says also the guy who has options trading, who has 4 different businesses, who's got an entrepreneurial history that speaks for itself. That doesn't sound to me like set it and forget it. But I understand, but it's interesting how we take certain aspects of our life and compartmentalize it. And in your case, it's your long-term financial planning is VTI. Yeah. And all those other things are things that funnel into that plan. Do I have that correct?
Yeah. And I don't know if you ever heard the expression of like when people start businesses, like my W-2 funds my business or my side hustle. Mm-hmm. And like when you start a side hustle, the one thing they say is do not quit your W-2. I think that I can do all of those other wacky, crazy things, these eccentric things, because I have my money right, because I have a foundation. Like all of the entrepreneur stuff and all, like that's just a trim on the roof. But under the roof, I can dance on the roof and jump and stomp on the roof because I know that I have that really, really strong base. I wouldn't have been able to start the CrossFit gym and take that risk if I didn't have a W-2. And I wouldn't have been able to start the brewery if I didn't sell the CrossFit and learn things in the CrossFit and apply them to the new business. And I definitely wouldn't have any money to trade options if I never had my money right, because I believe that should be discretionary spending. So yeah, that I do a lot, but at the end of the day, I sleep soundly. Like regardless of all the chaos, all that chaos is just scratch of the surface. And to the personality thing, like I am a quintessential New Yorker. Yeah, I'm loud. I'm actually going to pat myself on the back for not swearing nearly as much as I wanted to on this podcast out of respect for you. But I am a very, very, I mentioned the Stoic philosophy before. I am a true gratitude person. I am not cliche. I am so filled with life and so happy to be alive. And I get that now, even in the running space. I have such a smaller presence there and people are getting to know me and they'll bump into me at a race and be like, wow, you really, when the camera goes down, you're still smiling, dancing. I'm the guy screaming in the woods at 3 o'clock in the morning. Let's go. We got this up that hill, and because there's just no reason to be upset. Like in sobriety, there's this thing called Rule 62 and it's don't take life too damn seriously. That's Rule 62 in AA. And it's so true. I don't find a reason to have to take life too seriously. Once again, money is a big stressor in people's lives. So having that out helps. But yeah, when I walked into the room at Camp Fi, the amount of gratitude I had just to be invited there, and knowing that I was going to meet some incredible people and we were going to have some drinks, we're going to have a good time. The best thing I loved about Camp Fi is it's not like a set fixed itinerary. There was a lot of you time. There was a lot of like, you want to go on a hike with these people? Go. You want to sit over here? Do that. So that was just something just to be super excited about life. Like that was a really, really amazing something that feels like yesterday, but holy cow, it was 3 years ago. And I met friends at that Camp Fi that I still text and talk to on a daily basis.
And look at us right here. 3 years later, we're talking to each other on a podcast about it.
Exactly. So like, those are the things I try and keep in hindsight to understand that like, I am definitely blessed, and I've gone through unfortunate things and losing. I lost a brother, I lost my parents and things like that. And I have tattooed on my arm up here. I don't know if you can see in the camera maybe, but it says memento mori, which is a Stoic phrase. And in a true sense, it means remember you must die. But in a less literal sense, it means live your life through the lens of a dying man. And seeing my dad sick was an awful thing. But seeing how much he appreciated the littlest, tiniest things in life. And he made sure to tell us, like he would say things like, I wonder if this is my last walk in the park. I wonder if this is the last Met game I'm ever going to watch. I wonder if I'm ever going to get Final Jeopardy ever right again. These little tiny things. And going through that sickness with him, it really just made me live my life through the lens of a dying man. And it very, very seldomly fades away. It very seldomly falters. I have my good days and bad, just like everybody else. But at the end of the day, I think if you talk to most people, I'm definitely a loudmouth. Luckily, I'm sober now, so it's a different type of loud. But I like to be known as one of the happiest people in the room. I like to be known as that guy. And I like to be remembered as somebody that never took life too damn seriously.
I know we've mentioned the term cliche a few times during this episode. Either I'm not a cliche or I'm definitely the cliche. But I will say this. This is not a cliche. You are inspiring. I was inspired by your talk at Camp Fi, and I was inspired even more when I saw the images of you, your weight loss, and learning more about your journey since then. Whether it's your fitness, whether it's your finances, whether it's your running, whether it's your retirement, it's all impressive. And I love how you have a zest for life. I know that for the people around you, you bring that and it's contagious. And so they're going to want to at least live a little bit bigger because they know you. So I appreciate it. And thank you very much.
I appreciate those kind words. And yeah, it's a good circle to be in. We have a lot of fun. And we're having a really good time.
Well, Brad, thank you very much for talking with me. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully let's not let 3 years go by before we do this again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time. And it's been very nice. And yeah, I probably it won't be 3 years again. I promise you.
Well, thanks again, Brad. And thank you all for watching and listening.